And welcome back to another live stream. And today's live stream is what supplements do you need for FINKE? So I guess the point of this live stream is to give you a bit of insight into what supplements are worth taking with you and are practical for racing FINKE, and which ones you're probably better off leaving at home or not wasting your time with. Before I get into today's call, there's a 24-hour cutoff for tickets for the FINKE virtual event for this year. So if you haven't secured your tickets yet for tomorrow night, grab your tickets before we cut them off. There's 24 hours and then that will be it. No more tickets will be sold. So if you'd like to jump in for that and find out a little bit more about it, I just put the link for you. Hey, Tony, I just put the link in the comments. So 24 hours and then that will be it. No more tickets, so don't hassle me after that last minute before we're about to kick off saying, are there any tickets left? Because that will be it. So the comments down below. The link if you'd like to find out more about the FINKE virtual event. But the topic for today is supplements, okay? It's like, what are the supplements that you can take that are going to boost your energy, boost your recovery? And I guess overall, what we're really looking for is what are the things that are going to boost your performance, right? What are the things that are going to allow you to perform at a higher level or a higher level more consistently throughout day one, day two, and even for prologue as well. So first of all, I want to share a story. So back in 2019, I did a marathon row on a rowing machine. So on a Concept 2 rowing machine, did 42 Ks. It took me 3 hours and 18 minutes. So a shit ton of time to be spending on the row. Now, the first time that I went in, I didn't do any specific rowing training. I just did my normal training that I was doing, and it was more about, I want to see if I can do this row. I want to see if I can actually go the distance and sit on the row for that long and be able to make it. And so I did end up making it. However, about halfway through, I was absolutely dying. I was like, holy shit, how am I going to make this like an hour, hour and a half in? I'm already dying. I'm already hurting. How am I going to keep going? And so nutritionally, I had pretty much no nutrition strategy. Like I knew I brought a whole heap of water with me. I brought some coconut water with me, which I used for hydration, which had a bit of sugar in it. And that was really about it. There was no other nutrition strategy or anything that I used. I wasn't measuring out my carbs, wasn't measuring out my protein. It was just, there's some coconut water, there's some water. And truthfully, I didn't start worrying about like the coconut water and getting water in until I started to feel like shit, which was probably after the first hour. So the first hour, I was just focusing on rowing and trying to hold a good pace and pulling the handle and trying to, keep up a good pace so that I could get a good time. And then I got about an hour and a half in. And then that's when I was starting to worry about shit. Like my legs are hurting. I'm running out of energy. Like my pull doesn't feel as powerful in the row anymore. I wasn't focusing as much. It was more, I went from at the start of the row, attacking the row and really pushing and wanting to do well, to at the end, I'm just like, when's this thing going to be over? Like, when's the finish line? Let's hurry up. Hey, Emma, let's hurry up and get to that 42K mark so I can be finished. And obviously, once you get to that point, and I'm only an hour and a half in, I've got an hour and a half to 2 hours left, right? It's a long hour and a half to two hours when at the 1 hour mark, I'm going, shit, I feel like shit already. And that was really the mistake I made, is everything I did on that first row, hey, Jason, was very reactive. So it was like, oh, I've got sore legs. Let's try and stretch. Or, oh, I'm feeling a little bit low on energy. Let's get some coconut water in. Or, oh, I feel like I haven't got enough water in. Let's get some more water in. So I was having all of these problems, and then I'm trying to solve them and trying to deal with them as I'm going through the row. So you can imagine, instead of my focus being on the row and, hey, Belinda, and trying to get the most out of what's happening on the rowing screen, I'm too busy worrying about my body and just trying to survive the rest of the row. Fast forward 12 months later, just before COVID hit in January 2020, I did a row again. And there was a couple of things that I changed. Did all of my normal training. One thing that I changed is I did these longer distance rows during the week. So I just did one long distance row during the week. Every week for, I think it was 12 weeks leading up to the marathon row. And I was able to knock 20 minutes off my time. My goal was to get under 3 hours. And the second time I did it in 2 hours 58. So the first time I did it 3 hours 18, second time 2:58, which is a decent chunk of time to knock off. Now, one of the big things that I changed with my nutrition. So going in for the second row, I was like, okay, I definitely need to be more prepared with how I'm fueling myself, how consistently I'm fueling myself, and what I'm putting into my body, right? So the first time I had no strategy. It was all very reactive and very random. The second time was very structured. I knew how many carbs I need to be getting in each hour. I knew how much protein my body needed each hour. So as I was rowing, I wasn't reacting to the problems that I was having. I was just following the plan that I had mapped out, okay, which was get this much carbs in, have a drink at this time, get protein in at this time. And I just followed that system all the way through. So what I ended up learning from that, hey, Toby, was a couple of things. Is number one, the first time I did the row, I was reactive all the time, like I've already said, right? So the second time I did the row, at the start of the row, I was drinking my drinks and getting my carbs and protein in, even when I didn't feel like I needed them. Okay, and because I didn't feel like I needed them, I was just following my plan. What that meant is I didn't have those problems 2 or 3 hours, or 2.5 hours in, because I'd already counteracted them and had a plan in place from the start to solve those problems before they'd even come up. So instead of reacting to problems, I was proactive towards problems. So what that meant is that I was anticipating what was going to happen based on the row that I'd done the previous year. So I knew exactly how much protein. I need to get 15 grams of protein in every hour, and I needed to get between 30 to 45 grams of carbs per hour. So the coconut water that I was having previously, it actually didn't have enough sugar in it to get me to my 30 to 45 grams of carbs, number one. And number two, I wasn't drinking it for the first hour. I was just focusing on rowing because I was like, oh, I'm fine. And then ended up dehydrated at the end of the row. So I was able to get on top of that stuff early, okay, because I had an action plan and I have everything mapped out. And what that allowed me to do is instead of getting to the second half of the row and just focusing on, oh, my body's hurting, I feel dehydrated, I feel like passing out, okay, my concentration's going, I can't focus, my coordination's off, I don't feel powerful and strong anymore, I feel weak as piss. I didn't have to worry about those things. I could go into the second half of the row, and yes, it was hard still, but I could just focus on the rowing and pushing hard with the row, not all of these things that were breaking down with my body. And the reason I could do that and knock 20 minutes off my time is because I had a premeditated plan. Hey, Matt, I knew exactly what I needed to do before I got started, okay? And that made all the difference. The other thing that helped with was confidence, okay? Hey, Robert, I went in more confident as well. And the reason that I went in more confident is because I had an action plan before I went in there, okay? I knew what I was doing. I had everything mapped out. I knew what times of the row I needed to be getting set. I had all my drink bottles lined up, which I'd actually trained with. I was training at a Jets gym for my rowing just down the road. And I'd go to the Jets gym and I'd have my bag and my little esky full of drinks there, okay, full of Powerades, full of water, and I'd have them all mapped out next to my row. And I knew exactly at what points I needed to have specific drinks along the way and how much of each I needed to get in. Okay, how many Powerades, how much water, how much protein I needed to get in as I was going through the row. So that made me confident because now going into the big one, I already knew what to do. I knew how my body was going to feel. I had a plan before I even got there. And that's what helped me to be able to perform at a higher level than I did the previous year. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, well, what does this have to do with FINKE? FINKE is exactly the same thing, okay? It's a 2, 3, 4 hour event for you guys. Now, you can do what I did in the first year of the marathon row, and you can go in and you can wing it, okay, and you can push hard for the first hour and ignore all your nutrients and ignore what your body needs, and then just die for the next 1, 2, 3 hours, depending on how long you're out there, and you're probably not going to enjoy it, and then get up the next day and repeat the same problem. That was a good thing about the marathon row. I didn't have to repeat that shit the next day. You guys going out to FINKE do need to repeat that shit the next day. So if you fuck up on day one and you don't have a plan for day one, day two is going to suck a lot more, and it's going to suck a lot earlier on in the ride, okay, if you haven't got day one nailed. Or you can do what I did in Marathon Row 2, the second one, which is have a plan before you go in, okay? Have your nutrients mapped out, have your supplements mapped out, know exactly what you're going to do. Even if it's not the best plan, just having a plan is going to give you a lot more confidence and certainty in how you're going to feel, especially if you give it a test run before you go there. You've got 3 weeks still, 2.5 weeks. Get out on the bike, do a test run, get all your drinks out, do exactly what you're going to do when you go and race. So there's no surprises on how you're going to feel. So what should you use for FINKE? Exactly those 2 things that I used for the marathon row, which was 3.5 hours. Every hour of riding, you want to get 15 grams of protein in and 30 to 45 grams of carbs. So 30 to 45 grams of carbs, if I remember correctly. 35 grams of carbs is in one 600 ml Powerade, a normal Powerade. So you need roughly 1 Powerade, a little bit more per hour of riding. And you also need 15 grams of protein. So you can use protein powder if you like. And that will be, most protein powders might be 20, 25 grams of protein per scoop. you can have a look on the back of the pack. You'll need roughly 1 scoop, or a bit under, maybe 80%, 75% of a scoop for every hour of riding that you do. Okay, and you can stick that in your camelback, shake it up, make sure, and again, do a test run. Some protein mixes are shit and they don't mix well. Shake it up in your camelback, make sure you've got everything loaded in there, you've got your Powerade in there, you've got your water, you've got enough in there to last you for the 3 to 4 hours. And then that's going to make sure that you're set. The other strategy that you can use, that I use with our guys, if you're not doing fuel, if you're not doing the club fuel stops and you've got your own fuel, get protein shakes made up, which can get part of your nutrition in, and strap your protein shake to your fuel drum. When your person comes over with your fuel drum, you grab your drink off the fuel drum and have that while your bike's getting filled up, and then you chuck your shake away, and then off you go. So there's a couple of strategies you can do there. If you're doing club stops and they're doing fuel, you have to get your nutrition sorted beforehand. Everything has to be loaded up in your camelback as best you possibly can. If you're getting mates to do it, or you've got someone else helping you with fuel, strap protein shake to your fuel drum. But the most important thing is you want to make sure that you're on top of your nutrition from the start. That was my biggest learning from the marathon row, was I needed to make sure that I focused on my nutrition before nutrition and energy and recovery was a problem. What I did the first time is I waited till it was a problem, and then I tried to fix it. The second time, I prevented it from being a problem in the first place. And that's the approach you need to have with getting ready for FINKE. Excuse me, I'm a bit stuffed up. So 2 supplements that I would recommend: protein shake, so protein powder, and carb powder, okay, or carb drink. They're the 2 main ones that you're going to need to make sure that you're at your best. The reason those 2 are the most important, think of your body like a battery, okay? And every time you drain that battery, like think of it like a normal battery, a rechargeable battery. Over the life of the battery doesn't charge up as long, okay? Like the battery doesn't last as long, and they start to wear out, and then you need to replace the battery. Your body's very similar. So every time you run your body right down to low, and you're using all your energy and you've been working hard, you're breaking down that battery, okay? So what we want to do is we want to make sure we repair the battery so that you've actually got a good solid battery there. And that's what protein does. Protein is the building blocks for your body to rebuild it, to get it back to where it was, and hopefully a little bit fitter, faster, and stronger, okay? So we want to make sure we repair your battery for every hour of training that you do, back to as close to 100% as we can get it. That's the first thing. That's the role of protein. The role of the carb drink is energy. So, okay, now we've got this strong battery and we've made sure that we've replaced it and it's got full capacity. Now we've got to charge this bugger up. And that's what the carb drink does. Okay, the carb drink helps to replace all of that energy in your battery and get you back up to 100%. So protein is the strength of your battery. Okay, it helps to give you full capacity. The carbs is the charge in that battery. Okay, the carbs go in to help you charge that battery up to 100%. So that's why you want to juggle both of those when you're riding and when you're racing, especially for FINKE. So to summarize what I've gone through, have an action plan going into FINKE. You've got enough weeks now to do a test run. You should not be using guesswork out at FINKE. You should know exactly how you're going to feel when you go and race and what you're going to do, because you've done test runs beforehand. Okay, I didn't do that for my first row. That's why I performed like shit and it absolutely sucked after the first hour. You'll have the same experience with FINKE if you don't have a premeditated plan of what's going to happen and how it's going to work. Second thing, make sure you get your 2 supplements, protein and carb drink, and do a test run with it, okay? Don't just take what I'm saying and go and doing it. Some of you might have a problem with dairy. Some of you might have a specific protein that doesn't work for you. Maybe the carb drink, you haven't diluted it enough and that's a problem. All of that stuff shouldn't be a problem at FINKE. That stuff you should already know how you're going to feel. Don't go into FINKE doing some special routine without having done a test run beforehand, okay? Same with my marathon row. I went to the gym, I brought all my drinks with me, I did all the stuff beforehand. So when the big one came, I wasn't focusing on when I was going to get my drinks in and how I was going to feel and whether it was diluted enough or whether I was going to cope with having a protein powder or whatever. I already knew because I already did it beforehand. Okay, does that make sense, guys? Just give me a thumbs up on the video if that makes sense. Hey, Stu. If you guys would like to learn more about this stuff, okay, because there's heaps more to nutrition and getting everything mapped out, come to the FINKE virtual event tomorrow night, okay? Tickets will be cut off in 24 hours, and that will be it, okay? There's no going back. I'm not sending out replays to people that didn't buy a ticket beforehand. None of that stuff, okay? If you want to come and you're serious about improving your training, you've got 2.5 weeks to get a good nutrition plan and have a solid foundation there to make sure you're ready to perform at your best. So 24 hours, I'll be cutting those tickets off, and that will be it. So if you'd like to learn more about the event, click on the link in the comments. That's going to give you a bit of insight into exactly what I'm going to cover, and grab yourself a ticket. Okay, if you work with me currently, you get a free ticket. If you don't work with me currently, tickets are $97. Okay, it will be the best $97 you've ever spent, because we're going to get your body operating at its absolute best. And at the end of the day, you can have the fastest bike and the best tires and the great steg pegs and all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, it's up to you. If you're dehydrated, if your energy's not on point, if you're not recovering well, the bike's not going to be ridden as hard as what it needs to be ridden. You may as well not have spent all that money on your bike and gone with a stock standard bike and put the time and effort into yourself, and you're going to get better results that way. Okay, so if you put all the time and effort into the bike and the logistics, put a small fraction of that into getting yourself ready as well. And it will be the best money that you've ever spent on yourself, because at the end of the day, that's what's going to determine the results, not so much the bike that you've got. So if you're interested in coming, you want to learn more, click on the link below. As I said, 24 hours until tickets will be cut off. So click the link, jump on board. We'd love to be able to see you there. Any questions at all that you guys have regarding FINKE, put them down below in the comments. Otherwise, I hope to see you guys tomorrow night on the FINKE virtual event. It's going to be a bloody awesome night. Been putting the slides together, putting the bonuses together, putting the step-by-step nutrition plan together. I've been working on this stuff for ages, so I'm really excited to get it out to everyone, and help everyone who's heading over for this year. Otherwise, hope you enjoyed today's video, and I will chat to you guys soon. See ya.